Do me a favor, please put your hands and welcome to the stage your moderator, Mark Daniel.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. House of Mouse Expo, how you doing this evening? It is the last day of House of Mouse Expo. Everyone go, oh. But it's not over yet. Yay! Welcome. We are glad you are here. Hope you're having a great time. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, the wonderful world of animation. Thank you for providing this amazing stage, and we're having a good time. Are you having a good time? Tell me your outfit. You're dressed as a Jedi. All Jedi have stories, so you survived Order 66. How did you survive? Did you hide in a carcass? Did you go to a planet? What happened? Wow. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And what are the most colors on your lightsaber? Is it a more gold highlight or a silver highlight? Oh, she got one. Okay, so she's showing, oh, look at that, beautiful. Elemental nature. Boom, nice. And what color is your kyber crystal? Okay, good to know, because we don't want it to be red, people. We don't want it to be red. All right.
Boy, I wonder what you do for a living.
Be quiet, Elliot, but it's not about Star Wars right now. So let's get to it. The reason you are here, the reason House of Mouse is happening, one of our biggest celebrities here today. So right now, I'd like to introduce voice actor, illustrator, designer, and the voice of the leader of the band and the club that's made for you and me, Mickey Mouse. Please welcome Bret Iwan. You can't use a microphone right now.
It's not working.
It's not working. Bret, welcome, Bret.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, good to see you. I've never met you before.
I know.
This is the first.
We've never done this before.
We've never done this before. It's our first introduction.
First introduction, first time on stage.
First time. These are my friends, by the way.
I could tell, they liked you.
Everyone say hi, Bret. Yes, indeed.
How much did he charge you to clap? Or pay you to clap?
No, Bret, they love you, they love you. So let's get into it. I'm going to be looking at my phone. It looks like I'm really on TikTok, but I'm not. These are my questions.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Starbucks, I'll take a flat white.
Okay, yeah. Grubhub will bring it. Okay. So Bret, listen, let's talk. Let's get right to it, okay? You're the voice of the most iconic fictional character in the world.
Ahsoka Tano.
No. We're done with the Star Wars, Bret. All right.
Wait a second, how many of you expected Ashley to be here today?
I did.
I heard that was a rumor. She's not here.
She's not here. She's not here. I'm the moderator and I prepared questions in case she showed up. Because you two are best friends.
We are, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not supporting me today.
Not today.
She's playing in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
okay, sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, no, don't ever interrupt me. No, but listen, seriously though, the most famous character in the world, how did you process that, or is it something you just don't think about anymore?
I'm not sure I ever fully processed it, and so there is a part of me that just kind of, if I was to focus on it, it would be so intimidating that it kind of freaked me out, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big deal. Mickey is a big deal, and truthfully, he's less of a big deal to me because of the worldwide recognition and all of that, because I was and am such a Disney fan, such a Walt Disney fan, and such a Mickey fan that, like, the most exciting thing to me is that I'm a huge fan who loves his character, and I get to play with him. I get to be a part of that legacy. And so that's the part that's just kind of like mind-blowing to me. And truthfully, I'm not the most comfortable, like, being on stage and being in front of people. It's fun to talk about my experiences because I was so inspired by people involved in the Disney company and their stories. So I just hope that by sharing my experiences, it inspires like-minded creative people to, follow their dreams. But most of the time, I just kind of absorb all the coolness and all the fun, privately, and just kind of think, this is so cool. It's like, I went to Magic Kingdom the other night with no plans, but walking on Main Street, I was like, oh, the fireworks are gonna start. And I hadn't seen that new iteration of Enchantment with Mickey in the beginning. So I was like, I'm just gonna sit here on the wall and eat some popcorn and listen to Mickey. And I did. I just stayed for the Mickey part. And I was like, okay. And I left.
Yeah. Wow. So, you talk about the legacy, so let's talk about a little bit about the legacy. You were hired to voice Mickey Mouse after Wayne Allwine passed away in 2009. Mm-hmm. That makes you the 4th official voice of Mickey Mouse. Now, Wayne did it before you for about 32 years. That's a big body of work.
Yeah.
So, my question is, did his body of work help you in any surprising ways?
Surprising ways?
Yeah.
My gosh, that's a good question. I mean, probably. But also in unsurprising ways too, I guess. I'll start by saying Wayne's body of work encompassed so much and more really than any other voice actor who had provided Mickey's voice up to that point even. Because remember, Wayne started in 1977 is when he was officially cast. His first gig was for at that time, the new iteration of the Mickey Mouse Club in the 70s when Mickey was wearing bell-bottoms. And then eventually he recorded for Mickey's Christmas Carol, which came out in 83. And so that was like his big first feature thing. And believe it or not, even though he was cast as the voice of Mickey, it was still a time when Mickey was being voiced by different people depending on where he was needed. So at Disneyland, there was a parade. It was often Jack Wagner, the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls voice of Disneyland, because it was just easier for him to do it. And I think he would do Goofy and stuff like that. Fast forward a little bit into the 80s when the Disney Channel started. It was actually Roy Disney, Walt's nephew, who said, okay, look, now Disney's gonna have this huge presence on cable TV. So kids are gonna be at home, and they're gonna see Mickey and their friends, and they're gonna hear them. I want them to have a consistent experience. When they're watching Mickey at home, he sounds one way. When they go to Disneyland and meet him, he sounds the same. Mm-hmm. So that's when Disney Character Voices was started. Sorry, I'm totally going on a tangent here.
No, not at all. This is what they came for.
But so that's when Character Voice was started. So it was probably like, the mid to late 80s when Wayne really kind of became that official voice, that title that we put on these voice actors who are portraying these characters in that official capacity. That's what it means. Mm-hmm. It means they're the ones who are working the most consistently and frequently to provide that consistent thread. So yeah, Wayne, I guess surprisingly, he not like kind of subconsciously being a consumer of all that, kid of the 80s, and watching all of those things and hearing again that Mickey on TV sounded the same as he did in Fantasmic. Like I think that was really where I started to pick up on a really unique cadence, a way of speaking. You hear certain nuances that Wayne brought to the character. But what I loved about Wayne's performance is he truly, even though over time, and with all the plethora of work, he was having to portray Mickey in ways that hadn't been done before. For example, Mickey's early cartoons, he's going, hot dog! And that was kind of it, or hello! And then now all of a sudden Wayne's part of shows where he's giving you full dialogue and he's saying, hi Mark, it's so great to be here today. Oh, look at that!
Stop, you can't just throw it at me and say my name, Bret. Come on, man.
Sorry.
Give me goosebumps over here.
So Wayne really was put in a position where he had to voice Mickey in ways that hadn't been done before, and so I think I really kind of observed that, where Mickey did develop a way of speaking that wasn't just always exclamatory. It was more conversational, and there was a lot of warmth that was brought into it, and heart. There's some really heart-wrenching performances that Wayne was a part of, whether it's on like Twice Upon a Christmas or The Three Musketeers or whatever. Like we brought in a lot of stuff that Mickey didn't have up to that point. So I really attribute that to Wayne. And of course, plenty of people behind the scenes, but I think that's how he really inspired me. And he did such a good job of bringing that, but then also working so hard to respect and honor the performances of Jimmy McDonald, but more importantly, Walt Disney, the original voice.
Yeah.
And we might get to this part of my story, but I auditioned to be Wayne's understudy. That's how I got involved. And so I was really looking forward to that chance if I was to get cast. Unfortunately, he passed away before the casting process was done, so I didn't get to work with him. But I got to know his wife, Russi Taylor, really well. And Phil Farmer voiced Goofy, and so I got to meet these people who were very close to him. And I always say, in a way, I was able to work with Wayne through them because they knew Wayne so well, and so they were able to share stories with me and tidbits, especially Russi. I was able to just call her up and be like, this is happening and I don't know what to do, like what would Wayne do? And she'd be like, oh sweetie, this, you know, and give me great advice. Where was I going with that? But the one thing that I always took away from this one particular interview in particular, did I say that like 5 times?
No.
Specifically, this one interview in particular.
4.
Where Wayne said that Jimmy McDonald gave him this advice when he took over. Jimmy McDonald said, remember kid, you're only filling in for the boss. And so that's what I've tried to remember because I think that's what Wayne would have told me.
Wow.
Remember kid, you're only filling in for the boss. Whoever it is, whether it's me, you know, Chris Diamantopoulos has done Mickey now in the Paul Ruda shorts, and other people will come after me. That's our job. We're filling in for Walt.
Yeah, and what a humble way to look at it too. I think that's really cool that you all share. So talking about Mickey and how he speaks, you know, characters like, for instance, Star Wars, like we know Yoda speaks backwards. I grew up on Sesame Street, and Grover can't say can. He says cannot, and he doesn't say I am. He says I am. Is there any grammar things like that with Mickey Mouse?
Yeah, there are some things which are really simple and surprise people sometimes, people who are writing for Mickey. Mickey doesn't really say everyone, he says everybody.
Oh wow, okay.
And so a lot of times you'll have a script and it's like, hi everyone, and I'll just automatically say, hi everybody. And sometimes people who aren't familiar will be like, oh, Bret, you actually said everybody instead of everyone. And I'll say, that's because Mickey doesn't say everyone. And you're like, oh, okay. So yeah, I'm trying to think a little. Mickey's very colloquial because if you want to think about Walt Disney's Midwest roots, so with Walt was Mickey, Mickey was Walt, and Walt's providing the first voice. So there's a lot of like just colloquial ways of talking. Instead of saying you, Mickey often says yeah. You know, like nice to meet ya. See ya real soon. You go, see you real soon. It sounds weird.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it did. It felt like, you know,
there's moments where it's like Mickey Mouse goes like, do you see the blue triangle? I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, there's little things like that. You know, it's just kind of. I think anytime you can contract words and give it that like just real warm, down home Midwestern tone to the cadence and the way you're saying, the way you're portraying these words, it's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So next question is a word he says a lot.
Nobody's ever asked me that. That's a great question.
Come on, you and me, man. I do my homework.
D23 Live.
Yeah. Hey, put in a good word for me, man. I'm trying to get a job. I don't know if you know this. And we're going to get to D23 in a second. So, swell. He says that a lot. What to you, what does swell mean? And Mickey's like the only character that says it.
I'm glad you asked that. Actually, there has been a movement and an opinion with some people within the company to eradicate that, actually.
Okay.
I want to know, what do you guys think? Should Mickey say swell? Okay. I saw some head shakes like you're like, no.
I think, you say no? You shouldn't keep it?
It's not swell.
It's not? What's it?
It is swell.
Oh, you scared me. You Navi, I don't know. You might know something on Pandora.
Something different over there.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, so there's been an opinion among some people that like swell's dated, like grandpas only say swell, and I go, I argue that Mickey is the, like, I don't hear grandpa saying swell. Really, I don't, but I hear Mickey saying it, and I think when people hear Mickey say swell, all they think of is that's a very Mickey thing to say.
Yeah.
What is swell? I think swell is an exclamatory statement, like, you know, how you doing today, Mick? I'm swell.
Yeah.
Like
I buy it. Like when I hear it, you know, that's Mickey Mouse.
It's a Mickey phrase. It's like, it's excited, it's affirmative, it's, you know, saying the same thing as that's great. So I love it, actually. I like to throw it in every once in a while. There's been times when they've tried to make Mickey say awesome or cool, and it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, wow. That was a reaction.
Go on social media and share your opinions.
I know.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Minnie Mouse, how do you feel about all this?
I always liked hearing him say swell.
Yeah, no, it's very Mickey.
Yeah, I feel so.
You know, it's like saying, oh, we can't say oh boy anymore. You just say oh. Like,
yeah, these are things. Yeah, we know it. So I want to do something very quick. I had some. Okay. I had 2 of them over here. So very important. I have room temperature water for you because that's very important. So I want to walk us through. This is for you. You do prefer cold? Do you?
No,
What do you
I was
prefer?
gonna say I prefer like a specific temperature.
Oh yeah. I prefer Evian.
97.
It's House of Mouse. Take what you get. Emphasis. But
The salad dressing was expired yesterday, so I'm
oh boy! Oh no! Oh. So walk us through a day. Like, let's say you book a gig, and you have, let's say you have to voice an episode of Mickey's Clubhouse.
Mickey Mouse Funhouse.
Mickey Mouse Funhouse, yeah. Walk us through a day in the life of how you prepare, how you start from home all the way through. What's your day like? That you can tell us
Are you
publicly.
sure you want some?
That Mickey would say.
I think you need to ask my husband this question, because he'd be like, you know how lucky you are? Like, I've got a 2-hour recording session today. And he's like, I'll see you in 12 hours when I get back from work. Sure. Let me throw this down. There. Okay. Or, no, thank you. Okay, typical recording session. So, in an ideal world, you know about your recording session maybe like a week in advance, but a lot of times it's like a day or two before or day of. But so typically, if I know I'm recording, if I have the luxury of a few days before, I'll be very cognizant of how I'm using my voice. We'll try to stay away. I'm a woodworker. I restore antiques. I do all kinds of crazy little side things like that, and so I will, be careful not to be painting or spray painting or using things that are going to potentially affect my voice. And then I just try to be really cognizant of like what I'm eating and drinking leading up to it. The morning of, I'll make sure I get in some exercise. That usually helps clear out the sinuses and whatnot. I get some steam, drink some tea, but it's really just common sense stuff, right? And then I'll make my way into the studio and we'll record. So that was a really lame, boring answer.
No, it gives
I'm trying to elaborate. Like, what else do I do? I take my dog for a walk. That's a lie. I don't.
But you can make a good point, right? Because you live your life, but there are things that can affect you if you have a sinus clogged or something. So how important is voice health for you in your life?
And very important, actually. And I think, honestly, why I'm not able to pinpoint some exciting day in the life for you is because it's just become very normal for me to be cognizant of that. I don't go to loud environments. I don't go to loud bars or restaurants or sporting games because even just you and I trying to have a conversation in that place is going to be taxing. I'll get home, no voice. I just, there's things that, I get on the plane and that affects my voice. So when I plan to come to fan conventions, as fun as they are, they're slightly stressful for me because I'll go home and I know I need a couple days rest to fight off that travel fatigue and then just getting to have all the wonderful conversations we've been having all weekend. That takes a toll. So it's something I'm always aware of. Some days are better than others. I'm the first person to be able to pinpoint exactly how I was feeling when I hear playback of a session. I can hear a parade or a TV episode and I can be like, that's the day that, the winds were blowing and my allergies were bothering me or whatever. It's hit or miss, and it's one of those things where I think sometimes it's forgotten. Mickey is a trick voice, meaning that it's a voice that it's not just your normal speaking voice. You have to do something to make the voice happen. And for me, it's talking in a falsetto, which means falsetto is all about airflow and air going through your sinuses and a little bit to do with your vocal cords. But if I'm not being able to breathe right, and that sounds weird. Like there's days when Mickey's voice just doesn't work, so I don't have the full range, and so it can be a bit stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, do you know this? Like, for instance, you might feel, I'm just imagining you don't feel that well, right? Yeah. Do you know personally, or do you go try to be like, I can do it, and the director's like, you're not sounding like it?
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know. I can tell. Yeah, and so there have been moments when I've just had to give them a call and be like, guys, I'm sorry, but it's not worth it today. Like it's not going to be up to snuff. And they're very respectful of that. I mean, I think when I first started, I was terrified. It's like calling in sick, right? You're like, you don't want to let them down. They need me to be in there. And so I would go in and like screech through. And I had several directors tell me, they're like, look, you're no good to us if you struggle through and then you've really trashed your voice and we can't use you for a week. Because there were times early on when like I would trash my voice so that for 2 weeks I couldn't come into work. And that just delays everything. So they're very understanding, and like I said, it's like I do my part to try and prevent that, but if I ever have to, then they'll give me a little bit of wiggle room.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's talk about a lot of the different places you voiced Mickey. You did film, TV, and the Disney parks, as you just said. But I want to talk about video games, and you did a controversial video game.
Oh, I did.
You did. And that was Epic Mickey, and I'll tell you why it was controversial. Epic Mickey was controversial because they actually were rebranding Mickey Mouse and going away from his fun, playful attitude to his more mischievous and adventurous side.
Sure.
So, I ask you, did you find that difference when you were voicing Mickey for Epic Mickey?
Ooh,
Let's go back in time.
No, you're right. That was forever ago. You're right, because back then there was a real push to rejuvenate Mickey, is how it was being phrased amongst the corporate environment. And so with that came a few projects, Epic Mickey being one of them. And so you're right. Epic Mickey opens with Mickey kind of being mischievous in the sorcerer's. It's what do you call a sorcerer's workshop? Like
workshop
lair?
Yeah, workshop lair. Yeah,
workshop. There's a word for it. I don't know. Anyway, basement.
Magic basement.
Magic basement.
Magic basement.
Magic basement.
Sounds like a new show. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that could be really good. Yeah. Welcome to Mickey's basement. Mickey is getting into trouble playing with this map, as I remember, and he spills ink, which is what creates this villain that Mickey then gets sucked into the world and has to fix. So yeah, I mean, he was being a little bit more mischievous. In Epic Mickey, it was interesting. I was about to say weird. It's not weird, but it was interesting because he was playing a more mischievous character, but that was kind of the unvoiced portion of it, I think. There was a lot of noises when that happened, but then the cutscenes are really when the dialogue started. And the cutscenes were really Mickey trying to figure out how the heck did I get in here, and how do I get out, and how do I fix this?
Gotcha.
So it was a little bit more I'm so sorry, Mickey. But it is interesting because, like that video game, there's a lot of different things that we work on where it addresses a little different Mickey personality, right? If it's Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Mickey's the leader of the gang and he's very instructional. Mickey Mouse Funhouse has allowed us to be a little bit more on the adventure side, and so that's you.
I was adding some background music. Adventurous.
It's getting very,
very intense.
dun, 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 dun.
I didn't know I could do that.
So you do have to tap into different personalities with Mickey, and the way I look at it is Mickey is a performer, he's an actor, and so he's aware of the different parts he can play, whether it's in Kingdom Hearts and he's a real bad beep, or Epic Mickey where he's messed up and it's oh beep. Swell, that's the word.
Swell.
Leaving out swell.
Just so you know, to be clear.
Anyway, yeah. I'm rambling now.
But to your point, also Kingdom Hearts, big success for Disney and Mickey Mouse, right? Look at this, right?
There's two fans.
Yeah. But they committed, and that's the difference.
I think they just like the costumes. I don't think they know.
Sorry, I left my key later.
I need that wig.
So, and it's found success in merchandise and in cosplay. What's it like meeting fans from the gaming world? They know Mickey from, Kingdom Hearts. Is there a difference in the fandom? Do they I was introduced to Mickey I really like Mickey more because of the game?
Yes. Yes, and. Here's a good improv answer.
Yes. Here we go.
I'm gonna say the biggest difference when it comes to Kingdom Hearts fans is my embarrassment to admit to them that I know nothing about that world. And I feel like it's disappointing to you guys, and I'm so sorry. But I'm not a video game player because I haven't been able to play video games since Super Mario Brothers when I started getting motion sick.
I do too.
You just go left to right, and that was too much for me, so I'm out. They're beautiful games that I've watched the cutscenes and all that, but there's such in-depth stories, which are why fans love them. They're really beautiful stories, and it's really hard to track when you're performing in it because we get the scripts we are given are our little bits. That's it, and it's under a strict NDA. We can't talk about it, and because of that secretive process, we really aren't given much insight into what's happening. There's not a lot of context other than in this scene you're about to be attacked by these three things, and so this is why you're responding this way. But in terms of a narrative, we have no idea. Bill Farmer and I are often like, I don't know. Sure. And so, yeah, I've actually learned a lot about Kingdom Hearts through the fans. Like, they've come to me and they say, I love this part, or I love that line, and I'm like, God, I'm glad you know, because now I do too.
Yeah.
So I will say that it's really fun to meet. It's fun to meet any Mickey fan. Kingdom Hearts fans are really great and cool because they know all of those little details of the games that I never was able to pick up on my own.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of informing me in a way. They're teaching me.
Teaching. It's a learning experience.
Life is a learning experience, Mark, and I always say, what are we if not learning?
All right, so I want to talk about something that I've seen in an interview before, but I think it's so amazing, and that's the story of your first introduction to Fantasmic and where you are now with Fantasmic. So can you tell us a little bit about that? We're talking the early days here.
Early days.
And then Fantasmic, and then in full circle, boom.
1992. Yeah, didn't I meet somebody in here who told me they were born in 92? There he is. And I was like, oh, that means I'm 10 years older than you. Okay, so Fantasmic to me was, to this day, is quintessential Disney magic. So if you've never seen the Disneyland version takes place in Disneyland. It's on the rivers of America, and it's really on Tom Sawyer Island. And so you have been at Disneyland all day, walking through this place, and seeing where the Mark Twain riverboat and the Columbia sailing ship are going by, and the rafts and the canoes, and then you're on Tom Sawyer's Island, and you're not thinking, you're just like in magic of Disneyland. And then at nighttime, all of a sudden, these light towers emerge from the ground, and there's fireworks, and Mickey's appearing, and projections, and it's just like, to a 10-year-old kid, and to a 40-year-old man, amazing. Like, you just sit there like in awe. So I remember the first time I saw Fantasmic at 10 years old, and I just was blown away. And the soundtrack was amazing, and Mickey was such a big part of it. And so I was obsessed from that point on. Every visit, I insisted we have to stay for Fantasmic. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, so my family, a family of 6, would go, and understandably so, at the end of a long Disneyland day, sometimes my parents were not up for waiting for Fantasmic and finding the spot and stuff. And on one of those trips, my dad was like, we gotta go home. And as we were leaving, we passed a shop and I saw the soundtrack for Fantasmic was for sale. And he's like, tell you what, I'll buy that and we can listen to it when we get home. And I was like, great consolation prize.
We can listen to it in the car.
Yeah, so, well, this was before cars had CD players. So we had to wait till we got home to put it on our big, put it in the speakers. But I have vivid memories of sitting on our family room couch, listening to that soundtrack. I was like cranking up as loud as I could, without waking up my brothers. And it was cool, but I'm telling you, I remember thinking like, this is great, but it's not the same. Like, I'm not feeling the bass of the speakers. I'm not feeling the heat of the fire and seeing the fireworks and listening to the crowd. Like, I was able to acknowledge something's missing. That didn't stop me from obsessing over that soundtrack forever. I listened to it all the time. I started talking along with it and performing all the characters, and that's where I started to go, oh, that kind of sounds like Mickey. And so that's really where people are always like, how did you learn to do Mickey? How did you start doing it? I was a kid talking along, I was doing the magic mirror too, I can't remember the line now, but I'd have a flashlight under my chin, and I'd look into my Aladdin poster on the wall, and be like, fame has no beauty, majesty. And I'd do all the voices. Anyway, later on, my brother and I started playing Fantasmic. We'd go out in the yard with hoses and little bottle rockets.
Wow!
Yeah, my dad had a projector for work, and we would take it out. I remember I set it up so it's showing out the window inside, and we were projecting Sorcerer Mickey on this giant tree outside, and we're like, Mom and Dad, come and watch. They were so nice to watch.
Wow.
So I was obsessed.
Yeah, a little.
Fast forward to the point of the story you probably want to know is, I can't even remember what year it was now, but years ago they decided to revamp Fantasmic. A lot of people have called it Fantasmic 2.0 at Disneyland. And so I had been called into the studio one time for a Fantasmic project, but it was for Tokyo. And so I recorded all the dialogue for Tokyo's Fantasmic so that the Japanese voice of Mickey could dub over. So that was like, I was doing like reference basically for him to then mimic for the Tokyo version. So when I got scheduled for a Fantasmic thing, it wasn't a big deal. I was like, oh, it must be another iteration or whatnot. And then when I went in and I was given the script, it was, because again, I knew these lines by heart, it was all of the Disneyland Fantasmic lines. And I was like, wait, what's happening? Like, well, we're revamping Fantasmic, and as such, we need to update those lines. And this is the first time I've ever done this, where I would happily have left that session and not done it, because I said, are we sure that this, I said, like, no disrespect to this creative team, but like, are we sure we need to do this? Because this is an iconic performance, and I don't want to be responsible for messing this up or stepping on Wayne's legacy, truly. Because it meant so much to me, and I knew it meant so much to other people. And they explained that because of the updates, they had to. You know, a lot of stuff done back then, believe it or not, the first Fantasmic was done on what they called reel-to-reel tapes. So it's recorded on tapes, literally like, you know, you've got one reel and another reel recording on tape, and you want something like to find it and edit it. And so at the end result, it wasn't easy just to like pick out the Mickey lines. They were reorchestrating and redoing everything. So I had to do those lines. And they said, but, you know, we may keep Wayne's finale line in there, just as a homage. And I was like, okay, love that idea. And they're like, but only if it works. And I should explain that there's a lot of times I've come back to work on something that Wayne did already, and you know, you might say, well, why not just keep Wayne's lines and throw in the new line? And it's like, as much as I've worked to sound as close to Wayne as possible, the recording technology's changed so much, so you're gonna get different audio qualities, let alone just the differences in our voice naturally. It's like, I don't think anyone can mimic someone's voice perfect. And so it's always just decided, like, for consistency, again, for character integrity, let's just record everything. So we did. And it was months later that it finally came out. It was the D23 Expo, I think, where they debuted it, and they like invited all the D23 members to go over there and to see it. And my brother and I were in the park that night, and I don't know why I wasn't like willing to go get a spot, but I was like, it's fine. I'm just gonna like hear it from the side. So we're doing our thing, Big Thunder Mountain, whatever, and it starts, and we like walk over, like, hey, let's check it out. And so it starts, and it's my voice in Fantasmic, like this childhood dream come true, and it's like very surreal. I get emotional talking about it. I'm gonna try not to cry in front of you, Mark, because you make fun of me every time. But at the end of it, they ended up using my voice for the finale. Like, some imagination, huh? And it was just one of those like full circle moments where you sit there and go, how is this my life? How is this reality? And my brother, this is the part where I get emotional, don't start crying, Mark. He put his arm around me and he said, did you ever imagine when we were kids playing Fantasmic in the backyard that one day your voice would be projected over these speakers? And I just lost it. And my mom was there too, and but not with us, and so she comes over, and she's like, what's going on? Like, why are you crying? And I was like, life is just so amazing. So it is truly, I joke, because I'm trying to keep you from seeing me ugly cry, but one of the coolest moments of my career, of my life. The fact that I got to share it with family is even more special. I'm very close. Family's very important to me, so. Yeah, it's that dream come true. I often say Mickey is a dream come true I didn't know I had. I wasn't a voice actor. I wasn't somebody who was trying to be the voice of Mickey. I often say, like, if I had been that person, I hope you would have been like, get a real job. It just didn't seem like it was a possibility, and it just worked out to where it's such. And for Florida, for Hollywood Studios, we just updated that a little bit ago, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen the new version that came out, and so I was, you know, again, wonderfully delighted and honored to get to revoice Mickey in that one too. So it's crazy.
Wow, I love that story. That is just, it's like destiny. It's like, you know, it's what Disney meant. Yeah, let's applaud. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna wait until tomorrow to make fun.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna do that.
Thank you. Cry on your shoulder backstage.
But also too, you're also an animator and a designer.
Yeah, illustrator, technically. A lot of people make that. I never want to, you know, animation is something I wanted to get into.
Right, yeah.
I haven't professionally animated. I guess you could say I was an animator in the 7th grade when I did a little
scare you,
piece.
put them together.
A I kicked a ball into a hole. That's as far as I got animation-wise. But no, I've been an illustrator. I went to school for illustration. First job was at Hallmark Greeting Cards as an illustrator, graphic designer, and I've maintained that since because, voice acting, you're not 9 to 5, so I've got time on the side where I've been able to maintain an artistic design career, which is very important to me. And through that, I've had amazing opportunities to do Disney art, whether it's exclusive prints or I've done some apparel and continue to work with Ashley on some fun stuff that we can't really talk about yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. I get to draw Mickey.
Yeah, and I want to talk about one thing in particular, because the first time I met you is when they debuted your Mickey ears.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And it was very specific, and I remember I saw it with you for the first time. I think you were holding it and looking at it. But it was very unique. Can you tell us about, so they had the designer series of Mickey ears, and you did one. Can you tell us the details of it? Because I thought it was really cool. It was called On Air.
That's right. I'm glad you remember that. I just realized I think I've been holding the receiver wrong this whole time. Sorry if my voice is cutting out. I'm like sliding down this thing. I'm a professional.
Elliot's back here on.
Yeah. Look, I'm not Celine Dion. I'm not holding this. It's normally like yes, On Air, the Mickey hat. So as part of the artist series, I actually got that opportunity at a Destination D event at the Contemporary Resort, and they were, the head of merchandise of that program was there presenting these ears, and Ashley had done, are we okay on time?
No, we're good.
Okay.
That's all of me.
You bored?
You know. Stop it.
He's heard it before. So the person in charge of that program was there, and they were debuting, I think, like Ashley's ears, and I just went over to her and introduced myself, and I was like, just so you know, I'm also an artist, and if there's ever an opportunity to be a part of something like this, I would love to design Mickey ears. And she was like, are you kidding? Like, we need you to design Mickey ears. Wow. So I chose, my ears were kind of an homage to Mickey being the first talking cartoon character, a la Steamboat Willie. And with my love of everything vintage, I love vintage things. I love the 30s, 40s, 50s kind of styling. So I gave them these ears that were very reminiscent of the old ribbon microphones that they used to have. And then in the crest of the hat says, it's a little clear with On Air lettering, that lights up when you press it. Of course, they had to make sound. So I said, oh boy! Yeah. I wanted to say a whole lot more, but I couldn't afford it. Which I was like, I could talk forever. I'll do it for free. That wasn't the problem. It was the chip. And yeah, he just got a little simple Mickey Mouse face on the front. It's all felt, kind of to resemble like an old Letterman jacket. I love that, again, the vintage feel. So I was really happy with how they turned out. And the very back says, on the back of the ear says November 18th, 1928. Which is the company's, designation for his official birthday, the day Steamboat Willie premiered. And it's funny because I remember, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but somebody on that design review at some point goes, now, like the November 18th, is that like a significant date for you? Do you want to keep that?
Oh, wow.
You're fired. That's what I thought. So that's
How many times has Mickey said that?
I don't know.
Oh,
never. I don't think he's ever said that. That's a touchy, so we don't want to get into it.
We're going to scratch that from the record.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And I also want to talk about, it's so in line with Walt. Walt was, an illustrator and an animator, and he had a love for trains. You also share a love of trains. Yes, indeed. So can you tell us a little bit about, I think I follow you on Instagram and you were working on something. I remember refurbishing.
I'm restoring a steam locomotive right now, yes. It's a story that deserves its own expo. So I need to go to a train expo to talk about this in full. But lifelong train fan, started with little model trains, and I've since graduated to operating real trains. I worked for a competitor's theme park in Southern California for a while just to drive trains. And when I say, this was like 4 years ago. I was a grown adult. And I joked that I was their biggest and only hidden Mickey.
That's awesome. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I had fun doing that. But I've been fortunate enough to come into possession of my own steam locomotive now that was a very gracious gift from a family of a guy who built it, and I actually grew up riding this train, so it's got a lot of personal connection, a lot of nostalgia tied to it, and I've hinted a lot at like my love of Walt's legacy, but that really extends beyond Walt. Even I'm a fan of history. I'm a big fan, and I feel like it's my calling lately to address and acknowledge and bring to light other people's legacies and stories, because I think there's a lot of untold stories in this world, and a lot of creative people who are passionate about things that don't often get exposure. And so, with my personal connection with this gentleman, his name is Tommy Thompson. And just the influence he had on me, I got in touch with the family, and then we've now made it like a joint effort mission to restore this train that's kind of been unused for the past 20 years since he passed away, and we're going to get it restored and get it up and running. And I'm not building a theme park by any means, but I'd love through social media and different events, to kind of bring to light his story and kind of share, the power of being passionate about anything, especially when it comes to being creative in the arts. I think there's so much joy to bring to people through that, and so that's why I get excited to share people's stories.
Well,
and I like trains.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
Choo choo. So, Bret, I want to open up. We have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes.
If you have, we want to have some questions, and we'll try to get through them very quickly. So, our Navi here has a question.
Swell.
You've probably made a lot of messages to kids like all over the platform. What's the weirdest message you've ever asked to be said in the Mickey voice, or weirdest thing you can tell us?
Oh man. Okay, so I'll say this. I've been asked several times to say, say la 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 as Mickey, and if it's not something Mickey would say, I'll never say it. Unfortunately, a lot of people I think people like good character. They want to see good characters or good people kind of brought down a level sometimes, and they'll be like, say this bad word. I'm like, no. But odd situations maybe that I think it's okay for me to say, I recorded a message for Shakira's children one time because they were trying to get her to sign on to do the South American version of Zootopia. And they're like, would you record a message for her kids? Similarly, I sent a message to Josh Gad's kids, congratulating them on potty training. I've recorded a lot of people's voicemails, including the celebrity Mark Daniel and a lesser-known one, Neil Patrick Harris, who is extremely giddy to have that done. I've never seen a grown man skip out of a room so fast. I was just like, oh my gosh, he ran out. And then my ask was like, can I get a picture of you for me and my mom? Really lame. Yeah, I've gotten to do a bunch of stuff like that. I'm trying to think of other interesting, weird things. I was a part, I won't reveal the magic, but I was a part of a live interaction with Mickey and Michelle Obama and the first family. Sasha, Malia, and Grandma were all there. And later on I got to meet them. Bob Iger introduced me to them. It's a normal day at the office.
He's dropped his name.
Robert Iger.
Oh, sorry.
The current CEO. Love you, Bob.
Awesome. Let's go over. Anyone over here? We'll go to you.
So when it comes to Fantasmic, Florida or California?
I know the answer.
I want to ask the room.
Oh, yeah.
How about who's for Florida?
Okay.
Who's for California? I'm gonna say California.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's because of what you said.
It's
Because
yes.
you don't see it until it's time.
And I truly think a lot of times that opinion is based on your own nostalgia. It's so much of that magic is tied to our own childhood and experiences. And for me, it's Disneyland. That's where my heart is. But I mean, the Hollywood Studios Fantasmic is its own thing as far as I'm concerned.
It's like the rock star of it. You know it's there. It's set already. It's like going to a concert where this kind of comes out organically.
We don't get a Little Mermaid who gets a black tarp thrown over her.
Listen here.
We don't get that.
Listen here.
The trees block her.
We'll go to Minnie Mouse. And I think we have time for one more.
Sorry.
true. It's really impressive. How does that Velcro on? Like, I want to know.
She can't get off the boat.
So, I know you said you go to conventions a lot and you get to meet so many fans. What does it feel like when you meet so many different ages of fans? Like, I've known Mickey Mouse for 30 years now that I've been alive. My mother's known it since she was born in the 60s, and my little sister has known it ever since she was young. How does it feel to be with a character that has grown up with so many different generations and so many people love?
Well, it's a very good reminder of how this character is so much bigger than me or any other person that has a role in it. Whether you're writing for Mickey Mouse, whether you're directing a series, whether you're voicing him, whether you're drawing him, Mickey lives beyond any person. And it's a very humbling experience, but also rewarding to realize that Mickey is so powerful and loved from generation to generation. So the stuff I'm doing might be entertaining and inspiring little kids today, and it couldn't, their kids could be watching it 10, 15 years from now, and then their kids still could live on, and sometimes it's a bit overwhelming to think about, well, that's weird, I could be gone and it's still gonna be, but yeah, it's, I guess as a fan, it's just really rewarding, and gosh, I'm at a lack of words here. You threw me off. It's. I'll tell you this. It is weird. Now I'm at a point in my career. It'll be 14 years this coming June. So I'm getting kids coming up to me and they're like, "You've been Mickey my whole life." I'm like, "What?" What do you mean? They're like, "I was born in 2012." I'm like, "Oh God."
All right, we have time for one last question back here.
What's your favorite project you've worked on?
It's really hard to pick one. I've worked on every time they're so different. I will say my most recent favorite project was the stop motion Christmas special that came out this year called Mickey Saves Christmas. I was really proud of that. It was fun because it was a totally different animation style than we've seen Mickey in a long time. I loved the music. The way it turned out was pretty spectacular. But every time I honestly, and it's not just a line, I'm telling you, every time I get to go in, it's just as exciting. And truthfully, I get a little bit nervous every time. Ooh, it's like the first day.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Bret. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Bret Iwan, everyone. Thank you very much.